Hi friends, it's Wendy Lynn. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making some bagels, and I actually just recently learned how to do this on Christmas, and they turned out so good. My family absolutely loved them that they've been requesting me to make these multiple occasions since Christmas. So I thought it would be a fun video to tell y'all how I make my homemade bagels that taste just as good, if not better, than the bagel shop down the street from us. All right, so it's very simple ingredients. We're going to use 3 3/4 cup of bread flour. We're going to use 1 1/4 cup of warm water. The warm water will help activate the yeast in the bread maker. 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of sea salt, and then we're going to do 1 1/2 teaspoon of fast rising yeast. So it's super easy to do. If you have a bread maker, there's a bagel dough setting. So we're going to use our bread maker to make the dough, which makes it super easy. Just going to take out my bread container. You want to make sure that the paddle is inside. And what we're going to do first is put the liquid ingredients. Hey, Caden, come on over here and say hi. This is my son, Caden. Hey. Oh, he loves the bagels, so he's looking forward to this batch. Okay, so first we're going to do the 1 1/4 cup of hot water, warm water. Put that in there. Then next we're going to put the 3 3/4 cups of bread flour. So let's do that real quick. And I always use a knife to kind of score my flour when I'm baking. That way I do have a precise cup measure. There's 1. There's 2. And I do use organic, unbleached bread flour. I think that's just a little bit more nutritious, and I like to try to do that when I can. There's 3 cups of bread flour, and I actually don't know what happened, but my 3/4 cup measure is missing. So I'm going to use a 1/2 cup and then a 1/4 cup measure to get my total of 3 3/4 cups of bread flour. All right. So we've got all of our flour in there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I do use a natural unrefined sugar. It's really good. So I'm going to put that in there. And then we're going to put 1 teaspoon of sea salt. And if you want to put different seasonings in your bagel mix, you can certainly do that. If you want to put, you know, like some dried Italian herbs or sesame seeds or whatever flavor you want, you can certainly put that in this flour mixture. Now, if you want to kick it up a notch and maybe put jalapenos or, I don't know, some fresh herbs in it, then you would want to put those type of items in when your dough is to it comes a time on a bread maker that if you want to add mix-ins, it's going to beep. So if you want to add something like jalapenos or, you know, onions or whatever, you would put those items in when the beep sounds for the mix-ins. Okay, so I've got all my dry ingredients. Now I'm going to just make a little well in the bread flour mix, kind of like that. And in that little well, I'm going to put the 1 1/2 teaspoons of fast rising yeast. So I've got my teaspoon measure. I'll put that right in the well there. And then we're going to get the 1/2 teaspoon measure. Put that in the well. And there you have it. So I've got all of my ingredients for my bagel dough in my bread machine container. I'm going to go ahead and lock that in. And Robert, come on over here and show them a picture with the dry ingredients in there. Okay, going to just shut the lid. And then what we're going to do is the bagel setting. So I'm going to come on back over here, Robert, so you can see these timers. So on this, I'm going to do the menu select, and you can see 10 is for bagel dough. So I'm going to just put that on 10, and then I'm going to hit the start button. Okay, so this takes 2 hours for the dough in the bread machine. But during those 2 hours, I can go about my business, do the other work I have. And once I come back, when the dough is completely finished in the bread maker, we're going to show you how we form the bagels and then boil them and then bake them. So I'll see you back here in about 2 hours. Welcome back. So I've got my dough out of my bread maker and I placed it on a lightly floured surface. And now what I'm going to do is separate it into equal portions to make my bagels. So I'll just take my trusty little cutter here and I'm going to cut a piece off, and we're just going to cut them into equal portions about that size. Then we'll kind of work it into a little ball like so. Just going to flatten it out just a bit. And then I'll take my thumb and I'm going to stick it right through the middle there and then just pull apart gently and just make it kind of look the shape of like a donut, like so. So I'm going to do that with all of the dough, and then once I have all of my bagels formed, we're going to drop them in the water, and we'll show you how to do that briefly. I've got all my bagels formed, and now I'm going to boil them in the water. And what I'll do is drop 4 in at a time. I'm going to let them boil for 90 seconds, and then I will flip the dough over and let them boil for another 90 seconds. And at that point, I will remove them with a slotted spoon and cool them on a wire rack. So I'm going to just take these bagel doughs and drop them in the water. And the water, it's about probably about 8 quarts of water. And it also has 2 tablespoons of sugar in it to help form that nice crust that you see on bagels. So come on over here and I'll show you these bagels floating in the water. So I flipped the bagels over after 90 seconds and they're cooking an additional 90 seconds. And as you can see, as they're boiling, they do start expanding. So your bagels will be larger than the dough that you started out with. Okay, so I've got my last batch of bagels coming out of the boil cycle. I'm going to put those on the rack along with the other ones. I'm going to turn that burner off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer the bagels onto a greased baking sheet. I just use nonstick spray on there. So we're going to go and put those on the baking sheet like so. And they will expand a little bit more as they cook. So if you need to have 2 cookie sheets, that's completely fine. I think I'm going to be able to fit all these on here pretty good. So yeah. And those ones are a little hot just coming right out of there. Just kind of reorganize these a little bit to make room for all of them. Okay, so now you can see I've got all of my bagels on my baking sheet. My oven is preheated to 375 degrees. And now what I'm going to do to get that nice sheen that you see on bagels, you want to put an egg wash on top of the bagels and all around, pretty generously too. So what I use for that is 1 egg white combined with 1 teaspoon of water that I whisked together. And then I'll just use my basting brush to go ahead and baste all of these bagels with the egg wash. And like I said, you do want to be fairly generous with that. Now after putting the egg wash on all of the bagels, I'm going to go ahead and season them fairly generously. And I like to use the Everything Bagel seasoning. You can season your bagels with whatever you would like. You can do cinnamon sugar if you want that type of flavor. You could do like, cheese on there and chives. You can do just sesame seeds. You can do seasoned salt. It's really, the options are unlimited. So you can do whatever you want. But for this batch, I'm going to use everything but the bagel seasoning. I'll just go ahead and sprinkle that on top. Like I said, you want to do fairly generous on the seasonings. So the bagels have baked for 25 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and pull those out of the oven now. Oh boy, look at these. Don't those look delicious?
Mm-mm.
So I'm going to just try one of these bagels that I made, and I just put a little salted butter on here. See how that's going to taste. That looks so good. Oh, you want a bite? How is it?
Pretty good.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Wow.
All right, I'll take
Delicious.
mine.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Homemade bagels. I hope you enjoyed watching me make these bagels today. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video at Wendy Lynn's Kitchen.